Welcome back to Beginning ASP.NET Core 3.0. This section is on Test, Monitor, Secure, and Deploy your web app. This video is on testing with xUnit. What will we learn? We will do an introduction to testing, we'll do your first test project, and we will test the cart item. But first, what is testing? Why do we test in code? Test projects are console applications. This application consists of tests that are run against your code. .NET Test to test your project in a similar way to .NET Run and .NET Build. It's a command that we have at the ready. There are three components that every test application have in common. The .NET Test SDK, a unit test framework. We are going to focus on xUnit, but there is also NUnit and MS Test. And three, a test runner adapter to allow .NET Test to function. These dependencies are NuGet packages that you add to the test project. Each unit test consists of three parts: arrange, act, and assert. One of the biggest reasons for using a framework like MVC is so that we can test each component independently of the other components. In this video, we will test our cart item, but you can easily have tests for all the other components, and even integration tests that test the system put together. So let's get started. Let's create our first test project. First, let's create a solution file. From the command prompt, navigate to the folder above sliver and enter the command .NET new sln-n sliver and hit enter. The template for solution file was created successfully. Next, let's create our unit test project. From the command prompt, type .NET new xUnit-o sliver.tests and hit enter. .NET will create a new project for our xUnit tests. Now let's add both of these projects to our solution. First, add the sliver project with the command .NET sln add sliver and hit enter. Now do the same thing but with sliver.tests. Next, change directory to sliver tests and type code space period to open the project in Visual Studio Code. A few seconds after Visual Studio Code launches, it will ask, required assets to build and debug are missing from sliver tests. Add them? Say yes. Next, let's look at unittest1.cs. Tests are attributed with either fact or theory, as you can see here, with the fact. This test doesn't do anything, but it will still run. Let's switch back to the command prompt and run .NET test. This will run our test. And as you can see, it's successful. This test doesn't really prove anything except that everything was set up properly. Let's modify our test to actually test something. Let's expand our test with the AAA method and have a running test. First, arrange. We're going to create a variable called x. Then act on this variable. We're going to set x equal to 1. Finally, assert. We're going to assert that x equals 1. We need to tell the compiler that this is an integer. Then go back to the command prompt and run .NET test again. The test is successful once again. Switch back to our code. Change this to 2 and save it. Now go back to the command prompt and type .NET test again. You'll see that this time our test fails, and it gives enough information to help us detect where our failure was. Next, let's test our shopping cart item. Let's change this back to 1 equals 1. Next, let's test the cart item. First, we need to reference our sliver project within our test project. In the sliver.tests.csproj file, create a new item group. This item group will contain a project reference, then close the item group. Save the file, and now we need to add a new unit test class. Let's call this new unit test class cart item tests, as we'll use it to test the cart item getTotalPrice function. So create a new file and name it cartitemtests.cs. and add the following code. We'll just have one test, and every test begins with the attribute fact or theory, but we're only going to do facts in this. First, we're going to arrange. We're going to create an item, then we're going to create a cart item. And we'll say that we're purchasing 3 of these. Then we'll set an expected variable. This is what we expect to return. Next, let's act. We'll call getTotalPrice and set the return value to the actual variable. Finally, we will assert. We'll assert that the expected is equal to the actual. Now save the file and return to the command prompt and type .NET test to run our new test. And as you can see, both tests pass. That's all there is to running unit tests. There's a lot of good that can come from proper unit testing your application. We've only run one test, but as you can see, you can build out quite a repertoire of testing.